Welcome to the Head Shepherd Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO here at Drench and Grazing Integration, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, thank you to our two fantastic sponsors for continuing to sponsor this podcast. MSD Animal Health is perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia and for their Allflex range across the world, with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Honega is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Honega team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now it's time to get on with this week's episode. Welcome back to Head Shepherd. You're with Ferg. Great to have you listening along. This week on the show, we've got Ryan Luckman joining us. Ryan has started an app or building an app called DAGI, which we'll get into in just a second. Before we get into that, just a couple of quick thank yous. A couple of people reached out during the week to just show some appreciation of the work we do in terms of the content we put out. So thanks to Daniel Valente and Elise Keeley. Both those people have sent a text or an email in response to some of the things that we've said on here, and really do appreciate them reaching out. So just a quick shout out to those guys, and thanks to all the people that come out of the woodwork to let us know that they appreciate what's going on here at Head Shepherd and Next Gen Agri more generally. Also wanted to quickly give a heads up that we're heading back to South Australia. Well, I'm heading back to South Australia and joining Phoebe to run an OptiU Essentials workshop. It's on the 15th of October at Melitech Polmerinos at Geranium there in South Australia. So it's a bit of a snapshot of all the things we cover in our OptiU course, which runs over 2 years, which has just launched in the UK, which is really cool. And thanks to Neris and Liz over there who are leading that charge, and get in touch with those guys if you're interested in the OptiU, the full version. But this workshop in Geranium is going to be a 6-hour day, 15th of October. We're just going to go through all the modules in brief and cover the absolute essentials part of that to give you a bit of a taster of what we'll cover, but also give you some opportunity to learn all those key bits of information. Also wanted to mention that the Xander McDonald Award is open for nominations through the month of October. So if you've someone who's out there doing amazing things in ag and you haven't hit that 35-year-old cutoff yet, definitely put that nomination in. Or if you know somebody that is doing really amazing things, we'd love for them to get in touch, find out a bit more, and ultimately get an application in. It's a fantastic award that it's great to be part of, and changing lives as we go, and building a really strong network across Australia and New Zealand. So really encourage people to get involved in that. Also, quickly a mention of our ram buyers guides. We're getting close to ram buying season in New Zealand now. We're right in the heart of it in Australia. They're all downloadable off our website on the resources section for free. If you want to order a copy that we just ask you to pay postage, we'll send one out. But the most recent one, the ink is just drying on, is the New Zealand one covering maternals and terminal ram buying. So jump on the website and download that if you haven't already, or get in touch and we'll send you one out. Also, some exciting news for Head Shepherd. We're welcoming a new sponsor to the show, ProWay, who is a name synonymous with sheep out there with yard design and building all sorts of amazing gear, cattle yards, sheep yards, shearing, shed gear. There's a whole heap of stuff that ProWay do, which is really awesome. A great company there, based there in Wagga, and awesome to have them coming on as our third sponsor for Head Shepherd. So you'll hear their intro slotting into next week. But yeah, great to have those guys joining our amazing sponsors that have been supporting us for years and years, Honega and MSD, Merck/Allflex, which have been with us since the inception, that crew, which is awesome. Right, we'll get underway with this week's show. We're talking about DAGI, which is an app developed to help you navigate where the worms are on your farm. So the challenge of drench resistance is real, and this app has been designed specifically to work out where the contamination is in terms of larvae is on the farm, and how and give you an opportunity to sort of visualize that, so you can change your management accordingly and reduce our reliance on chemicals, and try and, I guess, bring back the usefulness of the drenches that we've lost over recent years. So Ryan Luckman, who's started that project as the founder of DAGI, joins us right now. Welcome, Ryan Luckman, to Head Shepherd.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Great to have you, mate. We're going to talk about your app soon enough, but before we get into that, I just want to talk, I guess, about your career, how you ended up with a fascination for worms.
Well, yes, it has been a little bit convoluted around the place. So I'm a vet by training, and I've actually still working as a mixed animal vet down in Waimate, South Island. And it was actually a hankering for a bit of dairy cows actually that got me here. So I got quite interested into data and playing around with cow wearables and spreadsheets and all that kind of jazz. And then I was actually starting to deal with, the word that shall not be mentioned, the resistance dread in the sheep world, and thought, we just needed a bit more data there. So it's kind of jumped from my dairy roots into my sheep side, and ended up playing with sheep shit.
Excellent. Every young kid's dream. I guess if we talk a little bit before we get into your elegant solution, before we get into that, I guess everyone knows the problem. We've had it covered a lot on the podcast in terms of drench resistance in parasites, but I guess, just what in your part of the world, what you're seeing out there in terms of drench resistance and things failing.
Yeah, so I mean, it's getting pretty bad. I think the statistics are 1 in 3 sheep farmers having triple drench resistance already, and it's I think when you talk to farmers about whether they've got it or not, the most likely reason for them not having drench resistance is they haven't tested. I think now.
So you stay COVID free.
In the dark.
Stay COVID free the same way.
Yeah, exactly. So and so that's it. It's quite bad, but I always like to put a bit of a positive on it, because one of the cool things is we do have good strategies now. Like, we do know how you can revert a farm or farm better. And a lot of what the changes that people have to make to farm with drench resistance are actually kind of a win-win, because they usually are ones that avoid parasites in the first place, maybe put in some crops, reduce drench requirements, and you often grow lambs quicker anyway and make a more profitable farm system. So it's not all doom and gloom, but I guess what we were finding is so worm-wise, some great resources in New Zealand for what we're supposed to be doing here. And Dave Robertson, who is one of my colleagues down in Oamaru, had come up with an acronym called AIRMED, so avoidance. If we avoid the larvae in the first place, you don't actually eat them, you don't need drenching. Integration, so getting other stock in there, so other stock classes, ewes cleaning up for lambs or cattle cleaning up for all sheep. Refugia, which is, you've probably talked about before, but getting these good resistant or non-resistant genetics into that population. And then the bottom half is MED, so monitoring and effective drenching. And I think that's kind of where we're really comfortable at the moment, where we can take a fecal count, do I drench or not? Can I extend my drench out or not? And that's a much better place than we were when I first graduated. We were still on 21-day drench rotations, I think. And I look back in horror now after knowing what it's done. But now, that's a really good start. But that's kind of the hospital or the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. Yeah. And we want to get up to the top, which is, the ear part, avoidance, integration, refugia. And the tricky thing with that one is, where are they? They're these invisible larvae, and then genetics, which is probably even more invisible. We're trying to track those to decide where to not move stock, and that's kind of the genesis of the app. How do we actually put something to that, or put a picture to that?
Yeah, cool. And we'll going there in just a second. Just quickly, when everyone knows how, I don't know, like if you're going to bring on sheep and you're worried about foot rot, you quarantine them on. I guess one of the ways of you can do all the right things, but then you bring a group of trade lambs on, you can obviously accidentally introduce drench-resistant parasites pretty easily if you're not careful.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, quarantine drenching is still a critical part of it, but we've got to actually have effective drenches for that to be effective long-term, and which is, probably even more critical. Yeah. So doing that, but what we're actually finding now is we're having this both ways. So we have quarantine drenching where you drench these ewes or lambs or trade lambs so that they don't bring something in. But also we're now finding properties who've got such bad drench resistance that we want anti-quarantine drenching now. So we want to bring ewes or lambs from places with good status and actually bring those genetics into the farm. So we're kind of seeing it both ways now.
Yeah, well, it's a good strategy. And like you said before, it's just managing the genetics of the worm population is all you're trying to do with all of these strategies. And obviously trying to make them susceptible by finding those that haven't been as exposed to the chemicals. There is a bit of, I heard this week actually, there's a few people running around the industry still saying that just drench on your 28-day cycle and you'll be all good. What's what's your professional opinion about
that? No. So I guess, drenching still has a critical place in this, and we are very unlikely to get away fully from it, but it has to be as part of an integrated program. And I mean, DAGI literally stands for Drench and Grazing Integration. And when you talk to, I presented to a few, actually I presented to my Rotary Club the other day, and one of the interesting things there is a lot of them were retired farmers who were actually there when thiabenzole came out. And so I was talking about all the strategies that we're supposed to be doing, and it was all the strategies they had to employ before they had drenches. So we're almost, going back to farming like people's grandparents were farming, to make this happen. So yeah, 28 drenching can be necessary, but it shouldn't be the starting point of a worm discussion.
No, and it's surely not the way to get yourself out of a resistance problem. So
no.
I don't know a lot about parasites, but I know that much. If we do move into the app, I guess the genesis is clear. Let's work out where this invisible problem is on the farm, and so that puts people back in control. One of the things that all humans hate, and farmers are no different, is when you feel like things you can't see it, it's not in your control, and so you don't actually know what to do about it, and that's what the app is aiming to solve.
Yep. So yeah, the tagline's making the invisible visible. And so basically you don't want to see what's happening deep in the background, but on the surface of the background, essentially what we're trying to do is farmers put in their stock movements, any drenching they do, and any fecal counts, and we then use a model in the background to estimate how contaminated a paddock is, so how many larvae are on that paddock and in the sheep, and then also look at the refugia risk or the resistance risk. So refugia is always a difficult concept to get across, but I often talk about it as safe worm sex. So a lot of people don't realise, but you basically have, a mum and dad worm, produce
love each other very much.
Love each other very much. Yeah. And what you want is that it's not two resistant mummy and daddies. It's a non-resistant and a resistant. So we need to flood that population with green or safe worms and avoid those reds. So what we're doing in the background is actually predicting, you've got X amount of larvae on your paddock, and say 30% or 80% of them are these red genetic high-risk animals. So what it means is you then get a picture, you get a heat map, which is basically like a traffic light system where all your paddocks get ranked from most contaminated to least contaminated, and same with the resistance risk. And so then you can make decisions. So I've got a mob of lambs I'm about to move. I would normally put them in the airfield paddock because it's the best grass and it's looking great lamb tucker. But actually, if I look at the heat map, it is the most contaminated larval on the farm, and it's a high resistance risk. So that would obviously be not a great choice for lambs. So it might be something you put ewes in or cattle. And I guess one of the key things there is larvae are actually one of the biggest the main contribution to why lambs and other stock classes suffer from parasitism. So you get behavioural change, so they'll eat less, and you also get a lot of protein loss and energy demand for that whole immune function. So yeah, avoiding those larvae in the first place are really critical.
Yeah, I guess just double-clicking on that for a minute and sort of drill down into that larval thing. I think, lots of people might think that it's the adult females that are laying the eggs is what we're measuring, and therefore that's what the problem is. But it's the fact that they're ingesting those larvae, which are trying to burrow into the gut lining and causing that protein loss and all that sort of stuff, that is the thing that does the real damage to our productivity. And I think there's those cool studies where if you turn off the animal's immune response to worms, they actually happily grow and put on weight. It's what that larvae are doing to the system of the animal that's causing the grief. So it's not, so you've got to try and avoid those larvae is how you maximise productivity.
Yeah, and I think the best demonstration of this has been the Coop study, which if anyone's ever been to a Wombwise session, you would have seen the graph. But basically, if you looked at lambs getting drenched every 3 weeks and getting fed 5,000 larvae per day versus lambs never getting drenched and only getting 1,000 larvae per day, they finished, I think it was about 6 kilos lighter at the end of 14 weeks. So drenching doesn't, getting rid of those adult worms doesn't get you back that weight gain. It's stopping that ingestion in the first place.
Yeah, excellent. So the app isn't just something you've sort of done a bit of an Excel spreadsheet in the back here, and it's got a fair bit of clever maths in the background. Yeah,
so I'm very fortunate. So I went hunting for kind of the best models that were out there to chuck in behind this. And Jan Lawrenson and Lewis Kahn from the University of New England had put together an amazing whole farm model. Jan is a very smart cookie and had combined 7 of the best models throughout the whole world. So it's a really cool model. And that's all kind of driving the whole parasite dynamics and modelling in the background. And then also got a feed intake model from Ag Research and what was the meat board, now beef and lamb. And so that's a really cool model that predicts intake. So yeah, there's about 400 equations that you never want to see sitting in the background, but you will never see that. You'll just see the pretty pictures at the front.
Which is excellent. I love pictures. So talk us through the pictures. I'm standing on my farm and I'm reaching for the app. What am I going to see? What am I going to do? And what am I recording? And I guess what's it telling me?
So one of the key things around the recording side is we've tried to limit what you have to do. So I know from even my dairy world, if you get too many compliance points or too many things to enter, you will throw that app against the wall and break your phone. So we've tried to make it as simple as possible. So we just have to move a mob, and when you move that mob, so you'll have your phone there. Down one side will be the colours for the paddock or larval contamination, and on the right-hand side will be the resistance risk. So you'll get the picture of 2 and you can make a decision. Those paddocks will be presented to you in like days since graze, so probably in your grazing order approximately. And then you will move your mob. So, I'm going to move my lambs. I can then look at the paddocks that I'm about to choose and go, oh, that's a poor decision, make a different decision. Or say, I still have to do that, but are there some mitigations? Can I put them only in there for 2 days rather than 4? Don't get them to eat as low. A lot of different strategies. I think one of the things that we're expecting, and I think we will find, is that farmers will come up with some cool ways to not break the system, but to game the system. Will, when you present them with these and, they know their farm better than we do, they will, I think, do a really good job.
So presumably the weather's a big part of a worm cycle, so that will be incorporated somehow?
Yes. So we are bringing in weather data automatically via Met Service. So you just have to choose your best location for that. And we've got a 4K grid from Met Service that will track that.
Excellent. So I guess, there is somewhere mentioned that it'll be launched in spring, and so you're not too far away from pressing go on sending it out to the masses.
Yeah, fortunately, spring covers at least 3 months. I've found out
late spring
because late spring. We are moving really well through. So we've got app developers got most of it built now. So we're about to be at the validation stage. So we're getting closer and closer to launch. But hopefully, I'd imagine late November, early December would be go. So we're launching with what we're calling a beta launch initially. So it's a kind of mini group, so 50 farms. So we've got most of those signed up, but we've just got a couple of spaces left. So
jump in quick,
get in touch.
Yeah, excellent. Maybe just quickly on the journey, how long's this taking to go from sort of first little spark to some sort of smolder to now hopefully bushfire in the next couple of years?
So it's been just over 2 years actually. So a couple of years ago, because I still work 4 days as a normal vet, and then I stepped aside 1 day a week to do just random projects, and I was intending to do not anything in the sheep world, but I just got dragged in there, and I had this spark of an idea, and I thought someone should do this. And I looked around and no one was doing it. I was like, oh, well, I'll give it a crack. So when I first actually launched, I didn't realise that there was this whole model in University of New England. So that was a big find, I can tell you. I thought I was going to have to make it all from scratch. So that was a big one. It took about a year to build the background model, and then it's been almost a year building it into the app.
Yeah, right. And you're doing a bit of coding, or you're just outsourcing all of that? Or?
No, I outsourced all the code. So I love my spreadsheet. So I've built all the background model, all the background calculation steps, and defined how they work, and done that step-by-step process, and then handed it over to them to turn into whatever fancy language that they're coding in.
Yeah, excellent. Sounds like you know enough, same amount about coding as I do. But obviously, I think started off as a solopreneur, but you've got Grace involved now as well to share the journey. Is that how it rolled? Or?
Yeah, so very fortunate. So I was working away, and as you can imagine, 1 day a week doing this isn't quite enough, and so needed someone else in the business. And so I ran into Grace, who's another vet. So she was in Blenheim. I'd met her quite a few years ago, actually, and we just in a weird, the plane got cancelled, and we all had to spend a night in Wellington, so we all got to know each other. The Wellington Nine, we call ourselves.
Wellington can do that to you.
So yeah. So she just finished a job and was looking for something random to do. I was like, well, I need someone to help me at the field days on this project. Do you want to come out? And she was like, yes. And then from there, she took on more and more roles, and she's invaluable now, so I have to keep her on. It's good.
Yeah, and from my 1 or 2 days of interaction, she's a firecracker, so yeah, she'll keep things moving pretty well.
You put her onto a project and say, can you get this done?
Yeah, and that's what everyone needs in the world. Excellent. So beta launch in late spring, and then obviously that'll see how that rolls, and then hopefully open it up to, I guess it's New Zealand and Australia. Is it? Obviously it's going to be applicable anywhere we're grazing sheep.
Yeah, so we are doing the beta launch, then open up to New Zealand, and then starting to look at Australia as the next step. So yeah, it should work really well. So obviously the whole model that's underpinning it was written by an Australian or the Australian team, so that's going to work really well. And the model should work as well. So we will do a bit of validation. So we'll probably do another beta launch into Australia once we're happy. But I'm reasonably confident it will translate well.
Yeah, no, it should do. You just got to convert chili bin to esky or something in the background, and you should be right.
Probably add in a bit more grain.
yeah, a bit more grain feeding it. Yeah, liven up a few vowels, and should be all good to go. Well, they cut the smart cookies that you mentioned that have developed that model. So yeah, I imagine it'll work, and it's I guess what's your use case? I suppose it's obvious, anyone grazing sheep, but who are you thinking are going to be your first users? Just all dry stock farms, or is there any particular people you think that are going to be well suited to the app?
Weirdly enough, the range has been huge. So on our beta of users, we've got multi-farm owners with managers on board and high integration stock classes, down to sheep only, small blocks. So I guess the problem is quite universal, and so people's drivers are, it probably is one of those ones where it's crossing the divide of what often drives ag technology uptake.
Yeah, excellent. And I guess the question that most app developers don't like too much is the integration question. So obviously farmers don't want to be entering information twice. I'm assuming there's a plan that this could sit somehow, APIs or whatever, talk to other things that are going on people's phones?
Yep. No, 100%. So, in fact, when I first set out the survey questionnaire, about 2 years ago when I started this, that was one of the key questions I put in it, and you've already alluded to, it was almost 100% in favour of integration.
Yeah.
So, no, we're actually well down the track. So, FarmIQ are really on board, and we're pretty confident it will work pretty well with their system. And so actually we're working really closely with them right now to get some background data sets to run through the model and test from their program. So yeah, integration is well and truly on the cards. Farm IQ is looking first. We've had some discussions with Resolution and just started with Mobile as well. And they'll be a bit further down the track just with how Farm IQ is very good for integration because it's built for integration and has a lot of requirements for data entry, which make it very good for that kind of thing.
Excellent. And has this been bootstrapped the whole way, or you sort of? I mean, we're doing this interview from a camper van. I'm hoping that's not what it's driven you to.
We're pretty much bootstrapped, but very lucky in that early on I went to Beef and Lamb and they managed to secure some funding for the app build. Well, what I thought was going to be the complete app build, but as you've probably talked to enough technology entrepreneurs, it ended up being about half the app build, but that was really a good assistance to get us to the point of validation. And then we've bootstrapped most of it at the moment, and then just looking to take on an investor at the moment for the big wider launch to get us through next year.
Yeah, excellent. I should just clarify that Ryan's on holiday with his family in Dunedin, which is always in a camper van, so it hasn't driven him to. He's not living out of car parks just yet. Another week or two as an entrepreneur, maybe. Ryan, a couple of questions we ask to everyone is the first one is, what's the last thing you changed your mind about?
Right. So weirdly enough, this one is snow. So I'm not a big fan of cold. Never really been. I've been skiing once. Went snowboarding a while ago. It was horrific.
Why would you holiday in Dunedin if you didn't like snow? Cold, mate.
Yeah. Decided this was terrible. But anyway, it snowed in Waimate up the White Horse the other day for about the 1 in 5 year event, and went up and had a snow fight with the kids. It was awesome.
Excellent.
Decided I have to try and go. We're cruising down, so we might have to call in Queenstown there.
Excellent, mate. Yeah.
Maybe the key is not strapping anything to your feet.
Yeah. I think that's probably keeps most of your knees in place. Yeah. Excellent. The last question is often a bit more serious. Is who's the best person you've had the opportunity to learn from? And you don't have to keep it to one because that's pretty tough, but you may have one.
My one is actually weirdly a reverse one. Like it's one of my early bosses was kind of this generation where you as vets back in the day you were like put on this pillar and esteemed, and based on that they kind of felt like they always had to have the answer, and that so they always had to know the right answer, and they'd give an answer possibly even if it was wrong, and if they had to change their mind it was terrible. And that to my dying day is probably been one of the things I've taken, where as long as I use the current science or I'm happy not to know anything, I'll go and ask anyone, and found that that's quite liberating. And so you can take on a project about sheep where you're not really much of an expert, and you can go and find lots of people to help you with. And probably the other one within that is, and I haven't actually had much to do with him, but do you know Neil Chesterton, who's in he's a vet in Taranaki, one of the most passionate men you'll ever meet in your life. Mainly does dairy cow and lame feet. Anyway, he, from a clinical practice, he just churned out this whole heap of observational research over the years, and he'd just sit there, like he'd go and hide and like basically mime eyes watching cows walk into things, and he created a lot of what we do with lame cows in New Zealand. And I really admired him because he just was passionate and just like used that passion within clinical practice to find things and do observations, and I guess I quite like that because I am working in clinical practice and trying to model the same thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed his passion, because the work, I would never do it, but he once did all the debudding in his practice. I think he was about 60 at the time, because he wanted to count supernumerary teats and just to see what was going on. And so he just got really excited, and that's kind of is
excellent. That's the I think those people are what have shaped ag, whether they're farmers that took on a passion project, or vets, or other scientists or whatever. Yeah, they're the people that have actually made change because of their passion often, and probably a couple of those people you mentioned in that worm model would be fit that bill as well. Awesome, mate. That's been a really interesting chat. All the best with the launch, and sorely needed product for the industry, and hopefully we've got plenty of clients that are battling their way through drench resistance. So it's we're looking forward to seeing it hit the market.
Yes, hopefully we can make life easier for them all. Excellent.
Thanks, mate. I'll let you get back to your holiday and get out of the camper van, or go and find where we left the kids. But it's been great to have a chat, and really looking forward to seeing where DAGI goes.
Cheers.
Thanks again to Heineken, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Thank you to MNSD Animal Health and Norflex Livestock Intelligence. They offer an extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. We thank both of these companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.